are looking here into the relationship between EMRNotes and cases of charges. So in this EMRNote there is a case of charges installed that was probably created by clicking on the case button. The case button analyzes the note and presents to the operator possible services and diagnosis for billing. So this is a note that has already been built. Suppose we need to correct this. We can remove that link. We can project this now to cases of charges, and we see that we do not get a case of charges. The case of charges that we disconnected itself is not deleted. It's only the relation to it that is removed. We go back into this node and we take a look at how we can the opposite. Suppose we want to enter the same case of charge that was established on Olbach back in. We tab. There is a sequential search going on, and he finds the same case and he accepts to put it in. We could also do the opposite. Alba established, and EXmedic will process in the same sequential way this call to the name of the charge and place it back in. Now this name, as you see it here, is actually the name of this case of charge. See here, a name is constructed based on the service and a prefix of the patient name. So what we do here is actually processing this query as a name query, similar to all name queries elsewhere in EXmedic. It takes a little while to do these sequential searches, depending on the file size. So we could also look at the number 38720, and put it, I must have mistyped, okay, 38720, and we have it back in without the sequential search. So taking the name of the case of charge out liberates this node from the case of charge without removing the case of charge itself. That case of charge then becomes what we call an orphan case of charge. That is, a case of charge not related to an underlying node. Okay, for individual corrections into a node, that is fine. But how about doing a whole series? Is there a batch possibility? We do have a batch possibility. See, now we have a case of charge here in this node. We can go in applications and we can say clear me this case of charges from the node. Now it's gone. We can also do the opposite. We can say search for a same day orphan case. We just orphaned it by removing it into the open node, and it is back. Now that is interesting, because now we can then say, let's see, I have here a bunch of open nodes. Could it be that some of these nodes actually were built but outside of the node, directly going into the case of charge? That is a possibility, and it is interesting to be able to test that in batch mode. So we can say, take a look at all these cases of charges that have all these nodes that have no cases of charges embedded in them, and see if you can find same service date compatibility. And he finds at least 10 notes that apparently were already built. Now this needs supervision. An operator needs to take a look and say, oh, this laboratory service, should that have meant that that note should not be built? Usually laboratory services should not eliminate the billability of a note, but that's for an operator to verify. How is it possible that cases of charges are created while the notes remain actually open? As I already said, because an operator may have built a case of charge, not realizing that that case of charge should actually have been built from within the note. So these routines allow a system administrator to globally verify where discrepancies exist between notes and cases of charges, and where eventually billing may have been lost or should have been avoided to be duplicate billed. In the same context, actually we have under appointments, we do them all here, similar tools update appointments billable status. It does the same thing. It looks for possible missed billings by verifying if each appointment has a corresponding note or charge. And then an operator might be able to go over these and say, this one, actually we should have been billed that one. You can see here if there is a note available. So that's probably the reason why some of these have not been billed, simply because there was no note created. And that might be possible to correct by simply restoring a note based on the previous patient's history. Okay, so that is what I had to report on the issue of how can we avoid missed billings.